The treatment of magic by magic is haram. It is haram, and this is one of the ways that people unfortunately fall into when they treat magic. And so the treatment of magic by magic, because magic itself is haram, so to resort to magic is also haram. And the scholars do not allow the treatment of magic by magic. And this is because the magician, as you already know, is already upon batil. He's already upon, he's obeying the devils. He's winning the assistance of the devils. And so to use magic, to repel magic, is just falling even more into that type of batil. And so this is why some of the scholars, they used to say that no one removes magic except a magician. Meaning that no one gets rid of magic with magic except a magician. Right? Because many people you see that they'll quickly be able to get rid of magic in an instant, but overnight it'll just disappear. Well, that person's actually used magic because he's used a stronger form of magic to repel the magic. So what happens is, you go to this person and he will say, right, I will cure you. Take your shirt off, leave it with me. Right? So we'll ask for your shirt. Right? This is a sign that he's going to be doing magic. So we'll take your shirt, and then he will do whatever he's doing. Really what he's doing is that he will then go, he will write a spell, he'll then invoke the jinn, a more powerful jinn, and he'll do even more acts of disbelief or disobedience or whatever else which is displeasing to Allah. And so the jinn will become even more happy with him. So they will then execute a more powerful form of magic. So then another jinn will be sent and dispatched off to that individual. This jinn will then kick out that first jinn. That jinn will then be kicked out. Right? He'll be taken out. And so that magic will appear to have ended. That's what it will appear to be. So that jinn will now, that magic will appear to have stopped. He will no longer have that pain in his arm anymore because the jinn's now gone. Or will no longer have like the depression or whatever. He'll feel better. And then wait 2 or 3 weeks, because the other jinn has now come, then there'll be some other effect and some other symptom and some other problem. Right? So then maybe he'll have a pain in his leg, or he'll have a pain in his back, or maybe he'll have some other problem. So now he goes back to the magician again. And so now we see that this now becomes a playfield for the magicians, and they steal the wealth of the people in this manner. And so this is what tends to happen when you treat magic with magic. And as I said, there are signs you can tell that someone is using magic to treat you, even if they clothe it and conceal it with, the Qur'an and so on and so forth. And we mentioned those things in the last lesson. I won't repeat them again. So this is treating magic by magic is haram. And also those people who use the jinn, they claim to use the jinn, or they claim to have the assistance of the jinn. We see that the scholars, I will read to you some of the verdicts of the scholars in this regard. First of all, from Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Rajihi, he was asked the question. He said, what is the ruling on using jinn, the righteous jinn, in order to remove magic? What is the ruling? And the Sheikh said, first of all, it is not desirable to use the jinn at all. Absolutely. And the reason is because we do not know the condition of the jinn. The jinn, they come and they speak, and they basically, we don't have any evidence to show that this jinn is in fact what he says he is. He could be a munafiq, he could be a rafid, he could be a shia, because the jinn, amongst them are believers, disbelievers, amongst them there are shia, amongst them there are Sufis, amongst them there are, there are all sorts of Qadaris, Jahmis, all sorts of deviant sects amongst them, just as the jinn themselves mentioned in Surah Al-Jinn. The jinn, when you read Surah Al-Jinn, they mention that we are of many different paths and persuasions. And so a jinn comes along and he says, I'm a Muslim, I'm righteous, I'll help you, whatever. But we have no evidence about whether he's speaking the truth or not. We can't see him. He could be a munafiq, he could be a mubtadi, an innovator, he could be a rafidi, shia, could be whatever. And all he wants to do is to win the confidence of this healer, so that he can slowly misguide him and, fool him and deceive him, and over time lead him into falsehood. And so anyone who opens himself up to the jinn and assistance with the jinn, he is putting himself in a great danger without even realizing. And the jinn are more smarter than any magician. Anyway, the Shaykh, he says, he goes on to explain that the jinn, we don't know their condition, we don't know what they're like, we don't know whether they're truthful, and we've got no evidence. And in fact, there's a really good answer here from Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, And so he was asked the same question. He said, look, basically seeking aid from the jinn, and is it possible, is it possible? So he said, listen to his answer. He said that this question is wrong. This whole question is wrong. The question should be that first of all, dividing the jinn into righteous and unrighteous, and a believer and a kafir. First of all, this is correct. Because in reality, there are righteous and unrighteous jinn, and believing and disbelieving jinn. However, that knowledge is in the knowledge of the unseen, and that is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is true. As it relates to us, we don't have that knowledge. Even though we acknowledge that yes, there are righteous jinn and there are evil jinn. But as it relates to us, then we do not have that knowledge. Right? We don't have that knowledge. And so in relation to us, this distinction between them is meaningless because we don't know. And the Shaykh gives a beautiful example. He says, let's say for example, some guy came along to you and he said, I'm a Muslim. You've never seen him before. You don't know who he is. He just come out of nowhere. You've never seen him before. You don't know him. And he says to you, I'm a righteous Muslim. I want to do business with you. Let's set up a business. Now you, the first thing you want to say, well, wait a minute. I don't even know you. I don't know who you are, where you've come from, what you're about. I need to find out who you are. I need to find out what you're about. I need to know your background. And so there's no way you are going to do business with that individual. Right? So the Shaykh says, look, this is the normal habit of a sane person. This is how he would react. When someone comes, he doesn't know him. This is how he would behave. And yet, when it comes to a jinn, you hear voices from behind a wall or from a person, and he starts telling you, yes, I'm a righteous jinn, I'm going to help you, I'm your friend, you're a righteous man, you're a righteous person, I'm a righteous jinn. How foolish is it for a man to start believing that, yes, indeed, this jinn is telling the truth. When the jinn are the most lying and deceitful of people. And and this is why the scholars of hadith, they used to say that if a jinn narrates a hadith, we cannot accept that hadith because his integrity is not established. Unlike men, whose integrity and honesty and truthfulness we know, when they narrate that the messenger said such and such, then obviously we can evaluate them, we can check for their honesty and their integrity and their memory, and we can believe, and we can take it, and we can say, yes, this hadith is authentic. But as for a jinn, then his adala, his integrity and his trustworthiness cannot be established by any means at all. And so therefore the hadith of the jinn are rejected. And so you never see any of the scholars narrating a hadith from a jinn. So for that reason, these people who claim that we use the jinn and we seek the jinn as a means because they're our friends and they help us and they aid us and they assist us, and this man is a deceived man. This man is deceived. He's deceived. We're not under any doubt about that. And so this is the wrong way of going about treating magic. And again, in the last lesson, I mentioned to you many signs of someone who is actually involved in magic. So you should be aware of that, and you should avoid all of that. And this now moves us on to the issue of treating magic in the right